Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and get started tonight. For those of you who have been here before, we obviously go through and provide updates, and then we ask questions. Tonight, a little bit differently. We seem to get a response that people are more appreciative of getting one-on-one time with groups. So we're going to try to spend more time. We're going to hold any questions that we have, and I know some of you have filled out questions. We appreciate that, but we're going to give you the opportunity to get with the experts right after we're done giving updates and let you visit with them. We've got a number of people on stage and a number of entities. We have a couple of new players, and then I'm going to go ahead and get started. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kim Carpenter. I'm the County Executive Officer for Juan County. We've had another day of a lot of things going on with regard to testing and analysis. And I think, as we're sitting here today, this afternoon we had a briefing, and we're still on task with doing everything we possibly can to provide water where needed, provide showers where needed, taking care of the homeless and monitoring their needs. Continually working on communication through our reverse 911 and trying to get people to sign up for that, and answering phone calls. There are a number of entities, again, working very closely together. We're continuing to do everything we can to proceed forward and find some solutions for the next step. I know that I received a handful of phone calls about a number of people who are at ditch gates and walking ditches and things like that. And I do want to tell you that that has been the case. We're continuing to look at what we're seeing upstream with regard to Colorado. I've been on the phone with them a handful of times today to find out some of the data that they're getting, and also discuss their plans. I've gotten questions about what they're doing with opening their ditches, that people are seeing river water running through their ditches. I can tell you that they are in a rinse and washout mode of trying to clean a certain number of ditches and to see how the sediments respond in those ditches, and see what the water looks like after the opening of gates, the running of continual water for up to 2 to 3 hours, and then the closure of those gates, and checking various deposits along the ditch lining. And so with that, that's currently where we are from the standpoint of the communication that I've had. I will tell you that the administrator in charge of the United States Environmental Protection Agency met with me privately for a few minutes, and then she also met with our Emergency Operations Center staff and stakeholders. She's very concerned, obviously, about this, and the EPA. She's assured us from the EPA standpoint they're doing everything they can to continue to get some results that will show us what our next steps are going to be. What I want to do now is I'm not going to introduce a panel, but I'm going to roll call as we go. And I think probably, ladies and gentlemen, you can go ahead and speak from the microphones at the table if you'd like, instead of coming to the podium. And we'll just work our way down. Dennis, if you guys want to start from the State of New Mexico Environment Department, and then Bonnie, Mark, and Ronnie will work our way down the list. You will see a couple of new gentlemen up here that we have resources now available, and they will be able to tell you why they're here, why they're on the ground, what their knowledge is, and we've had several questions with regard to health questions, and we have individuals here tonight to be able to, during the breakout, to answer some of those questions if you have them. So we'll go ahead and get started. Dennis, or whoever wants to start along the way, go ahead and introduce yourself and what organization you're with. I don't need to come up here in proxy, so you can just work your way down the line. So let's get started.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Butch Tongate. I'm the Deputy Secretary of the Environment Department, filling in for Secretary Flynn He had to be in Albuquerque today, and he'll be coming back up here tomorrow morning. I have a relatively short update. We're still camped out at the sheriff's substation near the fairgrounds, accepting water samples from domestic wells and providing an analysis of that water that people bring in. As of about 4:45 this afternoon, we'd received a total of 522 samples. We were really busy Monday and Tuesday morning, and then it started to taper off a little bit. Today we had 55 people come in with samples. We'll be there at that location at the sheriff's substation, behind the sheriff's substation, until Saturday at noon. So if there's anyone you know or yourselves would like to have your domestic well sampled, you need to bring in about a quart at least of the water from the well. Let the well run for at least a minute or two before you take the sample. Put it in a plastic or glass container and bring it in, and we'll run some tests on it and give you the results as soon as we have them. As far as the surface water and drinking water issues, we're working closely with EPA, Region 6. I personally was on 3 different conference calls today with EPA discussing where we are and some of the preliminary data that they have, which is being run through the quality control, quality assurance process. We expected to get some data today that was held up in that process. So hopefully we'll get that early tomorrow morning. And hopefully we'll be able to make an announcement in the next 24 to 48 hours about starting to lift some of the restrictions that you've been under for a while. So with that, I'm going to ask Dennis McQuillan to give you a little very short presentation on domestic well usage.
This is how a properly constructed well should be. One of the things that's going to be an issue when we provide you with the test results of your water is we're not going to be able to tell you your water is completely safe to drink because we haven't addressed the issue of bacterial contamination, pathogens and so on. We've seen a lot of wells that are not in a sanitary condition, and without the sanitary seal, you can see that on the upper right. Without that, insects and dirt and things like that can get into the well. So when we've seen this, we don't have any regulatory authority over these private domestics. We just make advice. And since we're out there, we're public health protectors, we can't ignore this. We're not trying to take away from the importance of the spill and so on, but by not having a sanitary seal or having your well too close to your septic, you're just inviting contamination. Or if there was a flood and the well gets inundated by flood water, it'll go right down the borehole and contaminate your well. And now's the time for flood season. The New Mexico Environment Department deals with wells get inundated by flood water. Occasionally we have these tropical air masses that come up the Rio Grande Valley in New Mexico and stall, and all this moisture condenses and we have these catastrophic floods. So I just want to make this point. We're seeing this, and this is not unique to this area. We see it all over the state, and we just advise people to construct your wells properly. And the New Mexico Department of Health has got a webpage how to do that. Next slide, please. So you've heard me talking about gaining streams and losing streams, and I wanted to just show you a picture of them. The picture on the top, you can see that the water table is higher in elevation than the level of the river. This is not rocket science, this is just basic hydrogeology. And you can see the flow paths. The groundwater is flowing into the stream. That's what we think we have in this Animas Valley, at least in the middle of August right now. At all the sites we've looked at, it appears, based on the water levels and on the chemistry, that we have this situation of the groundwater flowing into the stream. If this is true, and the State Bureau of Geology and the state engineer are going to mobilize on Monday of next week to do a water level measurement survey, measuring water levels, the elevation of the river, and to get a lot more data than we've been able to out in the valley and confirm this. The picture on the bottom, the losing stream, shows the opposite. where the elevation of the river is higher than the elevation of the water table, at least right along each side of the river. This is the situation we have in the Middle Rio Grande Valley in Albuquerque. And I can tell you, like I think I told you 2 nights ago, the groundwater in shallow wells on each side of the river, in close proximity to the river, is chemically identical to river water. Conductivity, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, sulfate, chloride, all the minerals, it's river water. We're not seeing that here. And I think we dodged a bullet with regard to the private domestic wells. And every bit of data that we get every day now is indicating that is the case. That we have a gaining stream, not a losing stream. And it looks like this slug of heavy metal contamination came down all the way from Colorado and moved through the Animas River at a time when the groundwater was flowing into the stream and diluting the contamination. Every piece of evidence we have right now suggests that. So that's a good thing. But the water level measurements we've done by the Bureau of Geology and state engineers starting next week, like Mr. Tongate said, we expect to have data back from the lab, hopefully starting tomorrow, and we're going to keep you informed every step of the way on the investigation. I think that's the last slide on the wells. Thank you.
My name is Bonnie Hopkins. I work for New Mexico State University Cooperative Extension. I'm the local agriculture agent here in San Juan County. So we've been working really hard, and by we, I mean myself and a few other agents that have come up from other counties. We've got representatives from NMDA, Lincoln County, and Bernalillo County here with us today that have been pitching in. I also have a room of specialists locked in a room in Las Cruces since last week. I text them my questions and they respond to me immediately. So I feel like everyone thinks I have all of the answers, but I do have an incredible team working behind me. So I wanted to make sure that they got appropriate credit since I haven't given that to them. So we've been doing a lot of things in regard to agriculture in San Juan County. We continued with the delivery of irrigation water today. I think we were well over 200,000 gallons of water delivered to our local vegetable and fruit growers. We reached about the 15,000 mark on livestock water deliveries all across San Juan County, excluding the reservation. And we did have our first few deliveries of hay within the county today, because that was a request that we got a couple of days ago. So if you are in need of irrigation water and you do have a market crop for fruits or vegetables and you do not have access to municipal water, you can call my office. The phone number is 334-9496, and I will get you on the schedule. Unfortunately, with the demand, we are running about 24 hours behind. So if you call tomorrow, we'll do our very best to get you on the schedule as early as possible, but it may be the next day. You can do the same for livestock and also hay. Today we focused a huge amount of our efforts on preparing the ditches. Even though we know at this point we're not ready to turn the ditches on, we want to make sure that the ditches are as clean as possible when we do get to that point. So we had 3 crews. It was a collaborative effort between EPA, the New Mexico Environment Department, New Mexico State University, agricultural extension agents at our experiment station, and local contractors that went out and sampled three ditches to begin, and then we had some lovely help from New Mexico State troopers that ran code all the way to Albuquerque with our samples. So we are hoping to have those tomorrow. We're doing absolutely everything within our power to get the results as quickly and in a timely manner so that we can make good judgment calls there. Once they got those 3 samples sent off, the crews continued all day. They're still out there in the field collecting samples from all of the impacted ditches. So those samples will go on a courier this evening and go in for analysis starting tomorrow. So there's still a 24-hour turnaround for those samples. I will announce that Secretary of Agriculture Jeff Whitty will be returning to San Juan County tomorrow. This has been a huge priority for both NMSU and the New Mexico Department of Agriculture, so he will be here representing us once again. I do have specialists along with our state veterinarians down at New Mexico State University looking at long-term impacts and research on livestock, soil, and our forage quality. So again, they're locked in that room. I'm not going to let them out until they figure it out. As far as the ditches are concerned, we have had a lot of questions about how people will know when it's okay to turn on the ditch. And Kim, pipe in with me if I'm wrong here, but there will be no question when the time has reached. All of the ditch superintendents will be contacted directly. The ditch superintendents will be the ones that are contacted, so it's not your neighbor. It's not asking your neighbor, oh, can we turn on the ditches? It's not asking your friend, or oh, I saw it on Facebook, or I saw it on the front page of the Daily Times, or the Durango Herald. There will be no question.
That's correct.
We will make...
There will be a press conference when that occurs. There won't be any hearsay or anything at any point of any juncture in this process. If we find that the wells are safe to use, then the press will be contacted. We will bring them to us with specifics. I don't anticipate us being able to send out a press release and say all clear where everything applies. I think we're going to have to use baby steps with regards to where we are in getting back to some normalcy. I fully agree with what Bonnie is saying, and we will make very sure that once we are able to come to the conclusion scientifically for the safety and welfare of the citizens, and when we start to allow use, that it will be done with methodology that brings the media to us to let people know, and then put out a press release that indicates as such.
And to add to that, there are possibilities that not everything is going to happen at the same time. So we do want to encourage you, if there is one ditch that is running, that does not mean that it is acceptable for all ditches to be running. There's a very lengthy process that is based on science that we're dealing with here, and there's no blanket answer. There is no blanket call for everything to go on at the same time. So if you have questions, you're more than welcome to contact my office and join the list of questions there. But best bet is to call your ditch superintendent, because they will be the first ones to be notified. So we just wanted to make that clear across the board. That's all I have.
Good evening, everyone. Mark Hayes, and I'm the on-scene coordinator with the Environmental Protection Agency. And I just want to give you all a brief update on today's operations. We are continuing our surface and sediment sampling on the river, the Animas. That is going pretty well. We have two teams working, and Mark, do you have, okay, yeah. If you look behind me, that's the map. Basically, we are getting sediment and surface samples at all of the drinking water intake locations and pump stations. And that is ongoing. It's been ongoing since we got down here, so we continue to do that. And so actually we have gotten some results, surface water results, and from what we can see so far, it looks like everything appears to be under the maximum contaminant level screening levels. So that's a good sign. So we're continuing to get data in every day. So hopefully we can get that data finalized and get it published so everyone can see and observe what's going on there. We're also continuing to assist the state at the fair with the screening of domestic wells. The public has been asked to bring samples of their water to the fair to have it screened. So we have personnel working closely with the state to have that done. We also are continuing to work with Bonnie and her team to supply water, and we are working to actually fulfill some of the needs for hay. We have a lot of calls coming in about that, so we are getting that organized and getting hay out to the folks that need it, and other supplies as well. And we're also continuing to provide irrigation, or provide water for irrigation and livestock also. And we actually are now looking at some of the irrigation channels and conducting sediment sampling of those channels. And as Bonnie said, we actually were able to get some samples off today, rushing down to Albuquerque to try to expedite and get an idea of what's present there. So we're hoping to get those results back tomorrow. We also have a team of individuals out, community involvement, and trying to talk with the public and provide some information. And I'm not sure, but they actually have been providing flyers, and the flyers are just basically giving public a base background of EPA's activities and also state activities. And so we're trying to provide that information to the public. Actually, I believe that some of those flyers were issued here at the community meeting today. So we are trying to continue our efforts to get through this difficult situation and provide as much information as possible. And so it's a slow process, but we're trying to get there. And good news is that from what we've seen so far, it looks pretty good. The numbers are looking pretty promising. It's matching up with what the state and even the local agencies have. Some of those results that they've gotten back so far as far as surface water. And we're still waiting on those sediment samples, but those results are coming in as we speak. So hopefully we can get an idea of what's going on there too. So we're going to continue this diligent effort, and hopefully we can get some answers to everyone soon.
Good evening, I'm Ronnie Cross, I'm the response manager for EPA Region 6. I really have no update data, what Mark has said, but I look forward to meeting you after the meeting to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, let me start again. I'm Steve Seifert. I'm the medical director of the New Mexico Poison Center. And poison centers deal with human exposures. And thankfully, thanks to all of the public health measures that were put into place, we've taken between Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona poison centers to this point a grand total of 13 possible human exposures in this event, keeping it predominantly an environmental problem, but not currently a human health one. The poison centers stand ready to answer any questions about health-related issues, and we will also be available as an information resource in general in terms of the event and its potential impact on human exposures. The national 800 number is 1-800-222-1222, and that will get you the poison center for your assigned area, no matter where in the U.S. you live. And I'll repeat that: 1-800-222-1222. And I'll be available after this session to answer any questions you may have.
Hi, good evening. My name is Patrick Young. I'm an environmental health officer with the U.S. Public Health Service. I know you're thinking the Navy's here and what is the Navy doing here, but this is a U.S. Public Health Service uniform. I'm an ATSDR regional rep, and that's the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. We were created in the 1980 Superfund Legislation Act. Congress created us to look at public health exposures on Superfund sites and hazardous waste sites. We are headquartered in Atlanta and co-located with the CDC. CDC is our lead agency, and our other sister agency is NIOSH. I am a regional rep and have been a regional rep since 1998. I'm co-located with the US EPA in Region 6 in Dallas. So I sit very closely with the EPA. The ATSDR, we are a science-based agency, so we rely on data. That data is collected by the environmental regulatory agencies, and we review that data and make health calls. So I'm happy to be here. I'm your regional rep. Region 6, I don't know, we cover Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, New Mexico, the US-Mexico border, and the tribes. So I'm happy to be here and look forward to your health questions later.
Good evening again. I'm Blaine Watson with the Office of the State Engineer, the Aztec District Office. John Longworth is also around tonight. He just may have had to step out for a minute, so he'll be around if there are questions that we can talk to any of you about. Just a quick update. Some of the stuff that was discussed earlier, we were involved with that. We were kind of playing a supporting role today with helping some of the sampling teams find out where they were going to go and get them there to the ditch locations to sample. Still have folks out in the field helping with that yet tonight. One thing I did want to mention, we've talked to and Sean Williams, the water master, was talking to some of the ditches about getting them either verbal or coming in to get written access so that we can confirm that you're okay with us. I think the response has been positive, and yes, please come do that. And we're accommodating the request to have folks with us from ditch representatives, if that's a request that's made. If there isn't anybody here from ditches tonight that had planned to come in and sign an access agreement or wants to do that, I'm sure EPA probably has some of those available yet tonight with us. If not, we can get those, and we have them at our office, and just would ask you to come in and go ahead and put those in place with us so we can provide those to the EPA folks. I don't think I have anything else right now to add tonight, but we'll be around to answer questions if you have individual questions for us. Thanks.
Good evening. Matt Anthony. I'm Sergeant with Farmington Supervisory District for the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish. Just a little further updates, I guess, is basically we're continuing our on-site monitoring throughout today. It's been ongoing since the start of this. Our folks have been walking around and checking on some specific sites. We haven't had anything show up on those. We did get our first report today of a mortality on the Animas River of a fish. It was a single mortality reported. We dispatched biologists out to that direction, and they recovered that, and we preserved it and are sending it down for VDS testing, which is our veterinary diagnostics center in Albuquerque. When those results are available, we'll have that. Wish I could tell you how long that'll be. But that type of testing is going to be ongoing. So again, I encourage folks to get with us. Just for communication issues, any of the local folks that have Department of Game and Fish local officer phone numbers, I would encourage you to not necessarily just call those officers directly, because they may or may not be around the phone, but please call our dispatch number. And again, I'll give you all that number again. Our Santa Fe dispatch number is area code 505, and it's an 827-9376, and that's a direct radio dispatch, and they will dispatch that immediately to the nearest officer. Monday through Friday, normal office hours, we do have a call center 800 number if you prefer, and that's going to be out of Santa Fe, and those folks there will arrange to get either an officer and or biologist en route to a location. And this number is 1-888-248-6866. I'll repeat that one, 1-888-248-6866. Repeating the 505 number is 827-9376. Make sure you inform the folks that you do have some type of wildlife mortality and your proximity to the Animas River, so that they know to get that information to us immediately.
Matt?
Yes, sir.
Real quick, where did you say the mortality occurred today?
It's in a side ditch just off the Animas, about 7 miles north of Aztec. It was found about 50 yards from the main river channel prior to any of the head gates, so it was in a water area that still had some live water going in and out of it from the river. On site also the one mortality, but there was also numerous fish right there with that one that were still fine and alive and running around that were easily spooked. So anyway, the one was upside down. Okay. If you get with me right after this, I'll get your information and we'll make sure we get somebody out there. Thank you.
I did have one more quick announcement if everybody else is done.
No, go ahead, Bonnie.
So if you do want a delivery of irrigation water, livestock water, or hay, it's really important that you do call the Cooperative Extension Office to get on that schedule. People are breaking the hearts of these delivery truck drivers by trying to flag them down once they've already been loaded for another place. So it is really important that you do get on the list. We're able to get to everyone on that list within 24 hours as of right now. But if you do see someone driving down the road, you can't necessarily flag them down and then try to get a delivery out of that. So 334-9496 will get you on that list. We'll get you as soon as possible.
City of Farmington, do you have any updates?
No, sir. We'll answer questions.
Okay. The City of Farmington is also here to answer any questions upon breakout. Any final comments from the group up here? Okay, so the plan is we're going to break out. We're going to let you approach the groups you wish to visit with and ask questions. And they'll be able to spend some one-on-one time with you. We also have some additional, our emergency manager is over here, our emergency management coordinator, and the chief operating officer of San Juan County is here as well. And so we'll be able to visit with you accordingly. And again, I just want to assure everybody we continue to work diligently together to try to get some results. I know that the days are crawling and things have been very difficult. I've been out in the field quite a bit and visited some homes. I've visited some crops that of landowners, and of course we will continue to do this. Now, if we're missing something, if you feel that we have a need, you have a need that we're not meeting in terms of what we're able to do with the resources that we have, or if there are additional resources, do not hesitate to let us know. You know, we are trying to do everything possible to get us through this. And so I know you're scared. I know you're hurting. We understand that. And we're hoping to get some resolve very soon. So with that, we'll break out and we'll go ahead and visit with the appropriate parties you wish to ask questions to. And again, we'll continue with the community meetings again tomorrow night. Godspeed to you all. Thank you.